Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are watching episodes 290 and 291 of Bleach. So in the last episode, we got into probably one of the fights that I've been looking forward to since we did the whole Ulquiorra thing, and that would be with Tosen versus Komamura. There's so much baggage attached to this fight of friends and betrayal and the way that Komamura looked up to Tosen and had attributed all of this personality traits and stuff like that to him, and having of course that fall through with him going off with Aizen, and now we have him with holification, so there's that too. I really feel like this is going to be one of the more pivotal fights, at least from a character standpoint, and I mean, you guys know that I love a good character story, so I'm very excited to get into this part. I want to see some more of what this holification is, especially since we had the Espada before, which are much lower on the hierarchy for Aizen's subordinates, and we also had Aizen pointing out that Visored were failed experiments basically with holification, and we've seen how powerful they can be, so seeing kind of the improved version of holification with Tosen, and I'm just gonna predict now Gin is probably also has some holification of some kind. I don't know if Aizen does, because I don't know if he would do that to himself unless he'd perfect the process, but I mean, I assume we'll find out at some point. Getting to see those fights ahead of time, I don't think we figured out who is going to be fighting Gin yet, because Shinji was, but he is now face to face with Aizen after what happened with Hiyori, which I'm also panicking about, but we'll get back to that hopefully when Unohana shows up to heal her. I hope. She's healing Ichigo at the moment, who definitely has some Chosen One energy right now, in that he is one of the only people, I'm pretty sure, at least part of Soul Society, Visored, and everything, who hasn't seen Aizen's Shikai, which means that it doesn't have the same effect on him as it does with other people, like the illusions and all of that. So he's somewhat immune to what Aizen can do, and according to Unohana, he has a lot of spiritual pressure, which we've known. But her saying that his bare minimum, when he's been through a lot of fights, beat up, he used up a bunch of it to go into that hollow form and fighting Ulquiorra and all that stuff. It's just he's partly depleted, and he is already at minimum a captain level, so working really hard to get his spiritual pressure back up so that he can be maybe at his full strength when he has to face Aizen. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure how much of it is going to actually be in this part of the arc, because there's more show, and there's more show coming at some point, so I don't know how much we're going to do with Aizen and going up against him, but very excited to get into this fight with Tosen and Komamura. Been looking forward to it since Soul Society, when they first split paths because Tosen left with Aizen. So let's just get into episode 290. In 3, 2, 1, go. I'm honestly so excited for this. It's gonna be so cool. Are we gonna get some proper backstory for this friend that Tosen had? The one that Komamura doesn't know the name of? I feel like this will also help with figuring out Tosen's method of motive. If I can get my words to work properly. Because I feel I don't know, maybe it's because a lot of my assumptions are based off of other characters and what they think Tosen will do, or like who he is, which isn't necessarily actually who he is. And I feel like I don't know, I feel like he doesn't get like super emotional unless he's like angry about something. I don't know, I feel like he tries to be disconnected. I mean, there's no stopping it really. He was already partly hollow. I feel kind of bad for them, like too, like Hizagi and Komamura, because they were like, we're gonna save him, we're gonna like help him see that he needs to come back to Soul Society. But if he's part hollow, then he won't be able to come back, will he? I really hope that somebody is looking after Hizagi. Kira, are we on that? I need somebody looking out for him. I believe that though. It's like I was saying before, I was like, Tosa and Gi definitely seem much higher on the hierarchy than Espada. I mean, it's been at least 100 years because we saw him with the pendulum arc helping out Aizen. See, like, this seems like a very different, I don't know, feeling to who Tosen is when he's younger. But obviously, there's some connection to Aizen. Can we talk about how Komamura doesn't walk around with the mask anymore? Like the helmet? He's just out there being himself, being mad about his friend leaving him, going against what he thought they both believed in. I am also curious about when Tosen and Aizen ended up working together. Like, at what point did Aizen find Tosen and convince him to join him? Really? Hmm. True, but you're still at a disadvantage if you don't know what his weapon can do. Really? Elaborate, Shinji. Because I'm so ready for somebody to just smack around Aizen a little bit. Okay, but I want to know what Shinji's Sanpakuto does. I'm sure they're not gonna let me know for a little while. I do like that his Kamamura's Bankai is like this avatar warrior thing. I don't know, I just think it's cool. Some good fighting words though. I love the strings. There's so much that I love about the soundtrack of this show. His Bankai doesn't seem very fast either, which is worrisome given how fast Tosen seems to be. He did get a hit in though, so points for that. See, that's part of these fights too, is that we're getting into people that like they probably know each other's fighting style a little bit better than like going up against the Espada because they used to be Soul Society and like captains and lieutenants and stuff. Ooh. So he really got a hit in. Ugh. I also don't like that. Revenge? It's very different from the justice he claims. They're not always the same. So I'm guessing this is before he became a Soul Reaper of any kind? Did she die on a mission as a Soul Reaper? What now? I'm sorry, he did what to her? Why? Okay, I kind of get where Tosen is coming from. Because the instant rage I felt at hearing her husband killed her. Because he was just pissed. I get it. At least the wanting revenge part. There's an extent to like where that goes. So who was the Soul Reaper, or the husband who was also a Soul Reaper, who killed her? Isn't that where the revenge justice should be? I mean, we have already established that a lot of the Soul Reapers are not great people. I mean, Komamura seems like he's fueled by pure rage at this point. Like he's just angry and like feels betrayed. I mean, it depends on how you look at justice. I have so many complicated feelings about Tosa now. Me too, I understand, but I don't know how I feel about it. What even is that? Oh no, there's hands. What is happening? I mean, I know it's the release form, but I don't know why that's somehow more disturbing than like the ones we've seen so far. Don't be mean to him like that. He liked being your friend because you weren't immediately judging him for how he looked. Why you gotta take a low blow like that? I have so many feelings about Tosen. After that one episode, I went from like, I mean, I don't really know anything about him concrete to like, I don't know what to do with my feelings. Which happens all the time in Bleach when it comes to adversaries, and I don't know why I keep getting shocked by it. It's probably fine. I'll let it let it figure itself out in my brain for a little bit. I wouldn't have gone with revenge though for Tosen's motivation, given that he always calls it justice when he talks about it. I was kind of like Komamura, where I was like, it's probably justice in the sense of like, at least to begin with, I was like, it's probably because of like what his friend would have wanted. And then when he left with Aizen, I was like, well, maybe it's like because he sees something in Aizen's plan that makes justice make sense. But I think part of it might just be that he wants to see Soul Society crumble because he's angry about what happened to his friend. There's a lot to talk about. Even Geen is like, I don't even want him around. As much as I like getting backstory, especially when it has to do with like such an important character moment, like I was saying before, like all of the stuff with Tosen and like going up against Komamura is like such an important part of like both of their characters and like how their stories have intertwined and then like diverged with everything that went down with Soul Society. I needed to not play with my feelings like this. I needed to not make me so confused about how exactly I feel about Tosen because I want to pick a side and at the same time I don't really know what to do with my feelings because okay, on the one hand, I totally understand where Tosen is coming from with the whole feeling angry and wanting revenge for what happened to his friend because if her husband really killed her just because he was mad about something, I I I want to beat him up too. I want to get revenge too. I don't know, I just feel that way very, very strongly. I want to at least hit him. And it just makes me wonder like who was it? Which one? Which one of the Soul Reapers was it? And did he meet an unexpected and unexplainable accident just by happenstance? Because if Tosen is doing all this stuff and he hasn't like actually gone up against the specific Soul Reaper that did that to her, I don't believe all this spouting about justice. But like on the other side of things, away from the anger and like personal feelings, I don't think that's justice. I think that's revenge. I think that's being angry. I think that's like the initial reaction to something awful happening to somebody you care about. Justice is another thing. And do I think that someone should have some kind of punishment for murdering someone? I think someone should be punished for murder because it's murder. I'm just saying you should feel bad about it. You should be punished for it in some way. So like that would be the justice if there was like laws and like, and we know that there are laws because we saw the whole trial with Rukia. So we know that Soul Society has laws. So I'm like, hey, justice is like going through that system and like having there be punishment and all that kind of stuff. Like not siding with Aizen and being like, hey, but what if we made someone else God? I'm just saying, like maybe I understand the being mad because your friend was murdered for like awful reasons, like no reason whatsoever to justify it. Maybe we don't try and help some mastermind try to become God. Maybe we don't. Maybe we don't try to kill off an entire town of people to make that happen. Maybe. You know where I'm coming from though? I'm like, while I understand the revenge thing, I don't understand the escalation necessarily. And maybe it's just me, maybe it's just the vibe I'm getting, but Tosen seems to have gone a little bit off the deep end once we got into the whole released form thing, which I think is a moth, but there was grasshoppers when he was like in the little clip at the end with Geen, which obviously was for like the gag, but also like maybe it has something to do with grasshoppers. I'm sure that someone will help me out in the comments. Is it Javi? Javi usually puts in the comments the Spanish for me, so I'm sure I will get some kind of background on what the Spanish means because I don't speak Spanish, so I wouldn't know, but either a moth or a grasshopper if I had to guess. But he seems to have be a little bit unhinged there at the end with the laughing and I mean, part of that might just be like getting to see for the first time in your life and the like adrenaline of that, but he didn't have to be mean to Komamura. Didn't need to. Why are we being mean to him? He was trying to be a good friend. Maybe he misunderstood Tosen, which, you know, I did too. But please be sweet to him. He deserves at least somebody to be sweet to him. I really, really don't know how to feel going into the rest of this fight. I do feel, okay, one conclusion I can't come to about my feelings is I do think that Tosen, what he's doing is like wrong, because killing off an entire city of people is a bad thing. It's a bad thing to do. I don't care if you're like, well, my friend was murdered and I feel mad about that, and it was because of this whole system of soul reapers and soul society and they should be punished for that. Do not kill off an entire town of innocent people. It's a bad thing. So now that we have worked through my confusing feelings, we've concluded Tosen, not a great person, and we should probably defeat him. I am excited if we get any more of Shinji's fight though. It's just a complete side note from what was going on with Tosen. There's a hint that Shinji's weapon also has a similar power set to Aizen's, which is intriguing in that, I mean, just to see that kind of power used not to mess with people's heads and get what they want all the time, but also because Shinji and Aizen obviously like were in the same squad together, so to have those two powers going up against each other, like those two with, again, a lot of like history and baggage to work through, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I hope we get to see some more of it properly. I'm sure that we are going to finish Tosen's fight and then maybe we'll move on to Geen before we properly get into anything with Aizen. I know that we're waiting for Ichigo to show up to be like the real fight with Aizen, but I already have a lot of feelings and we have to watch another episode. So let's just get into episode 291 in 3, 2, 1, go. Oof. I believe that he doesn't want to kill him though. Whoa. Shinji though. I'm glad that we're gonna get to see at least a little bit, a little hint of what Shinji's power set is. Oh, I'm so excited. I hope that Shinji has some fight in him against Aizen. Even though I know, like, ultimately we're waiting for, like, Ichigo to fight Aizen, I want Shinji to, like, just for the satisfaction of somebody, like, knocking the smirk off of Aizen's face. We haven't gone back to Yami though, which is interesting. Are we just like assuming that that Kenpachi and uh Byakuya are gonna deal with that? If they ever stop trying to fight each other? I want to go with Grasshopper because of the sound. I don't know, there's also something moth-like about it. I know that like grasshoppers have like wings too, but okay, but somebody help Hisagi, please. Or Komamura? I think it's probably also kind of crushing because he's like seeing that he can't save his friend and that like like him saying like, "Oh, I forgive you," but we have like opposing like morality or like morals because that means that like they're not going to end up going back to the way things used to be. Yes, I still want to know when Aizen first brought Tosen to his side. It's true though, just because you can see with your eyes doesn't mean you can truly see stuff. Ooh, look at that though. Ooh, the slight color shift. Okay, but he got rid of the smirk. That alone, I'm proud of Shinji for. He caught Aizen off guard. Who else has done that? The glow of pride I feel for Shinji. Regeneration's still there. That's gonna be a heck of a thing to get around. Nope. It's true. I think something has changed in Tosen. It's like I was saying before, like the flashback of when Komamura first met Tosen, he had a very different demeanor than he has so far, like that we've seen, and definitely from what he is now. Dang. I was wondering if he actually managed to hit him or not, if or he was be too quick. Exactly. There's a difference from seeing something and then really understanding it, knowing it. I don't think the fight's over. Yeah. More themes about the heart, though, and like what the heart is, which is something that has come up quite a bit in the Arrancar arc. But that's not what you did. Again, blind to that fact that he's become something that his friend wouldn't have wanted. I'm sure they both understand the feeling of like feeling as if the world was unjust to them. Hmm. Why does that make me so sad? What now? Excuse me? Oh my gosh, Hizagi! I did not have Totoro, and it was a mistake. So he wasn't executed? The Soul Reaper? We're only halfway? I have so many feelings already. I still feel like crying about that. I don't know, I think Aizen might like a puzzle game as part of the fight. Ooh, he got a hit in though. Oh, I like Shinji's Zanpakuto though. Another theme of sight though, and kind of losing, like not being able to rely on that sense in a fight. He's gonna have to figure out the puzzle. I don't know. I feel like if anyone could figure it out, he would just doesn't have to like use his sense of sight. He can still like sense where he is though, right? I'm assuming. He can use his other senses. That's true too. They're both messing with each other's senses in the end. Still pretty cool though that neither of them can fully rely on their senses the way they usually would. Hmm. I've said before, revenge is a great way of just ruining yourself. What happened? what happened? Was it an illusion? Did something else happen? What's going? Oh, hi, Ichigo. Way to make an entrance. His clothing is fully back again, so he must be good from that aspect. What's happening? I was just talking about how the last episode made me feel too many things. And then Bleach was like, bet we can one up that and make you even more emotional and confused. Also, like, no, it's my brain is like short circuiting. I need to take a minute and just let it catch up with what's going on. And then we can try and order our thoughts a little bit. I didn't expect to cry just a little bit because Tosen. Mostly it was Komamura. Komamura. Mostly was why. If I'm being honest. Because I thought he might die. And I was like, no, wait. I feel a heaviness in my chest. Like my heart hurts a little bit. I'm nervous about Ichigo fighting him though. That's what I said. Also a good point. They implying that he's just like waiting for his chance. I definitely wasn't expecting Tosen to make me cry in any way. I mean, it was mostly Komamura who's getting me emotional, but like obviously the two stories are like linked together in this. And a little emotional, which happens a lot, especially during the last little bit of this Arrancar arc. I keep trying to get my thoughts together. I think it was mostly because of the line from Komamura that was like, if you make a mistake, I'll forgive you. Like that, I'll always be there to forgive you or whatever. I was just like, heartbreak. Because what a like unshakable friendship that would be of just like being forgiving, which is even what he was in that moment where he already said to Tosin that he forgave him, even though he was like, I have to fight you, like that has to be what happens because we are on opposing sides, not only of this particular conflict, but also like in our beliefs, but I forgive you. And like that is just such a heartbreaking thing. And then having Hisagi show up and also be part of it, which I actually really appreciate from like a writing side of things. I feel like having Hisagi like out of the fight entirely and not being there for like the end of this conflict with Tosen would be like so unsatisfying because he does also have, he has like, I don't know, my brain, he has a right to be there. He has a right to be part of this conflict and he also has something to fight with Tosen about and get like his own sense of closure on and stuff like that. So I really liked that he got to come back for like the last part of the fight, kind of the finishing blow, unless you count what happened at the very end with Aizen. But basically getting it in that final blow and getting to be part of this fight, especially since Komamura was like, I can't kill him, like I can't be that person, I can't be the one that finishes this fight. And then getting Hisagi into the fight being like, him, you know, saying like, oh, you're not Captain Tosen anymore, and him like acknowledging that there's a difference now in who what their relationship is and like how they relate to each other, and in doing so being able to like fully be on the side of accepting that he can't save Tosen and being able to like then have that moment of defeating him because he's like, well, you're not the same person you were when I knew and respected you, and there's no way for us to go back to that point, so you're just an adversary now, like you're just on the opposite side of this conflict, and it's just also sad to me. We also have Shinji coming in with his Zanpakuto. I'm glad that we actually got to see him using it and got the ability of it. I'm assuming that we aren't going to see a lot of Shinji fighting Aizen anymore because Ichigo has shown up and he's like the one that's gonna have to fight Aizen, so I don't know how involved Shinji is gonna be from that point, but I liked that we got to see it. I liked that it has this weird reversal thing to it, like the reversed world thing that he's got going on, and it plays with people's sense of sight, which is like also a nice like linking of themes between like Tosen's fight going into like leading into Aizen's fight. I like that those two things kind of fit together of like not being able to trust your sight, your sense of sight, and needing to find other ways of figuring out your opponent. I liked that Shinji was able to use that. I like that he also seems to have thrown Aizen off a little bit, and he lost his confidence there for a little while. Only briefly, but still a victory in my eyes. He got in a couple of actual hits, like drew blood. Who else has done that at this point? So I'm proud of him just for like the simplicity of that. I think that's just a lot about like where Aizen's power level is, that I'm like, you've surprised him, good job. Like that's like the bar at this point where I'm like, if you're up against Aizen, I'm like, that's my expectation. Very excited that we are getting Ichigo back into the living world and into this conflict in particular. I don't know what's happening with Gin. He's just like hasn't been like attacked Hiyori and then he's just like not been part of it in any way, so I don't know if he's like fighting other Visored or doing his own thing or what's going on with him, but it looks like we are going to be getting into Ichigo fighting Aizen and some of that conflict that's going on, or kind of seeing how that will work out. I'm not really sure because he was having some difficulty with his hollow form. He needs to make sure that he doesn't see Aizen Shikai because that'll like get rid of his advantage. And like, is Shinji's like Zanpakuto still doing weird reverse stuff? In which case Ichigo will have to deal with that. There's a lot being thrown at me in these last couple of episodes. I feel like my brain is a little bit unable to keep up with it, but hopefully at least some of my thoughts were coherent. I'll find out when I edit this. You can click this playlist to go and see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so you don't miss the next time I post a Bleach reaction, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!